To discuss all of this is retired Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis, host of Daniel Davis Deep Dive, and retired Lieutenant Colonel at Defense Priorities. As always, thank you so much for joining us. Your insight is always needed and so incredible. So Hezbollah has been involved in the conflict since this all started. Why now is Netanyahu setting his sights on them? And what do you make of the timing of that?
Well, listen, I think that Netanyahu's been planning this for quite some time. I think that was why, like almost 2 months ago, you kept hearing him over and over talk about how he wanted to go into Rafah to get those last 4 battalions, because I think he wanted to turn and go up into the north. His generals have been talking about this literally for many months, about the quote need to go into southern Lebanon, because see, they have this really big problem with, they have over 100,000 Israelis who have been evacuated from that strip in northern Israel, south of the border there with Lebanon, and they're pretty angry. They've been out for most of the 8 months, and they want to go home, and they don't want to keep living in just tents and shelters, whatever. So he's under a lot of political pressure to relieve that pressure. You can't just put those people in without either having some kind of a negotiated settlement with Hezbollah or taking them out and moving them back north of the Litani River. So I think that he's been planning this for a while, and I think that he's just calculating that he can't just keep putting it off. He's got all these internal pressures, some of which you just mentioned there, politically and militarily. And I think that for whatever he's decided, the time is getting near to where he has to move.
So what does an Israel-Hezbollah war look like? And who else does it potentially drag in? Because it does seem now we're on the brink of what has been feared and tried to be massaged now for months by multiple countries, including America, and that is a broader regional conflict, because where there's Hezbollah, of course, there's Iran. So where does this potentially take us?
Absolutely. Yeah. This has been my concern from the beginning, too, that this thing would escalate beyond the Gaza Strip. And now it's looking like Israel itself may be the initiator of expanding it out. And I know that that's a point of contention with the U.S. administration, because we don't want it to be expanded. We want it to be contained. And listen, I'm just telling you, militarily, this is a much, much bigger nut to crack than Hamas in the Gaza Strip, because Hezbollah has had a better part of 15 years to get all of this territory in southern Lebanon developed into these, really formidable defensive positions, bunkers, concrete embankments. They've got crossing fields of fire where they can, get anything that comes in. They have booby traps, all kinds of things that they prepared, and they have really much better trained troops. And the biggest issue of all is, of course, they have somewhere north of 150,000, some say as many as 400,000 rockets and missiles that are far more effective than anything that Hamas ever launched. And this would really test the Israeli Iron Dome in ways that it hasn't been ever. And it could actually penetrate it in with just overwhelming numbers. But it would be a much, much tougher nut, even on the ground, for the Israeli soldiers. I think it's a bad idea. They shouldn't do it. They need to find some other way to get this a negotiated settlement or get this war off the table. But if they go in there, I'm just telling you, it's going to be hard. And that assumes that they can keep Iran out of it. And I don't know if Iran will stay out or not. I know that they want to, because they don't want a war. But if it gets down to it, I don't think that they're going to allow Hezbollah to be militarily defeated. So that could prompt it. But it's just a very chaotic and unpredictable situation that has very little upside that I can see.
So what leverage, if any, then does the U.S. have at this point? I mean, every step of the way, the United States has discouraged Netanyahu from taking certain steps, and he has done it anyway. Now we have these inner fractures that are happening within his own cabinet. So what leverage do we have to put a stop to this or to encourage that agreement?
Yeah, we have an enormous leverage. The question is, will we use it? And that is that Israel, there is no chance, or virtually no chance, that they can launch a war which would, again, be sustained. It would take a long time. It's not going to be quick, and would require enormous amounts of additional ammunition. And then a lot more of the artillery ammunition, more than they've used in the Lebanon situation. I mean, the Hezbollah, but they're also going to need more rockets and more regular ammunition, just machine gun bullets, etc., anti-tank missiles. I mean, they would need a lot more stuff and sustained. And on top of what we're already doing in Ukraine, what we promised to do over the next 10 years, and in the Indo-Pacific with Taiwan, I'm not sure that we can support this. And so, and I think I've heard some of the senior members of the Defense Department say in recent days, look, folks, we don't have enough ammunition to support that. So that might be a cooling effect. But again, we'll see what the Biden administration is willing to do, because when they've had their bluff called, they've given in.
Oh, that's the most sobering answer I've heard yet about what's potentially on the horizon here. Retired Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis, host of Daniel Davis Deep Dive. Thank you, as always, for a great and important conversation. More news after the break.